All right. And welcome to the podcast. Today, I have the honor of discussing microphones with Michael Sean Harris. Michael is so accomplished when it comes to music and performance and production. And currently, he's teaching at Berklee College of Music. And I'll let him tell you what he teaches and how he teaches. And he is a founding member of ASHE, the performance troupe here. Really, really great set of people there doing good stuff. He is a former head of performance studies at the School of Music at the Edinburgh College of the Visual and Performing Arts. We've worked together there. He was my boss. He'll never call you my boss, but he was my boss. He is the author of the book Mike's Pocket Performance Pointers
That's right.
and the founder of the Gunga Walk Cultural Festival.
Yes.
He's done extensive research on Jamaican folk music. In fact, I don't know if he remembers this, but we met in 2003, 2004. He was singing a Louise Bennett duet with June Lawson. I don't know if you
Really?
remember that. Yeah, but Dinah, that
Wow.
that show. Yeah, that's when I
Oh,
first. That's when I first. That's when I first met you. That's the first time we talked
oh my goodness.
face to face. Long time ago now, but
Yeah, 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 yeah.
20 over 20 years now. 21, 20
Yeah,
this year.
yeah. My
Yeah.
earliest memories is Caymanas when you're working with the back
Yeah.
when we had a performance there. Yeah.
Very muddy infield that day.
Yes.
Yeah. And and you're also the creator of the Rockers Book Club and
Right.
Reggae Online.
That's right.
I'd like for him to talk about some of that today.
Sure.
I have had the pleasure of working with Mike on several productions, live productions.
Hmm.
But today he's here to discuss microphones for podcast and home recording and that stuff. So Mike, again, thank you.
You're so welcome. I'm so happy to be
Appreciate
here.
this. Really appreciate this. And
Yeah.
before we get into the mics and those stuff, though, how did you get into music? How did you get into singing in particular?
Oh wow. Well, I think there was always music in my family. My sisters were going to piano lessons when I was my older sisters were doing piano lessons and stuff, and we always had music in the house. My father and my mother loved music. They were playing records all the time. You know, Bob Marley, country music, the Beatles, you name it,
Hmm.
ABBA. We're always singing. So like even in the car, like going to school or coming from school,
Yeah.
we were all singing along and harmonizing and stuff. And so that was it informally, and all the we all went to piano lessons. So we had some formal education as well. Um, and then the school that I went to, the prep school I went to was big in music. They had a choir, and I was in the choir. The high
Which
school
prep school?
I
Which
went
prep?
to Vast Prep.
Okay.
So Vast Prep, they had good music teachers. Paul Bellman was a music teacher there,
Cool.
and so was Mrs.
Cool.
Mendez. And full circle. Even at Woolmer's in high school, choir again, more music, and then when I got to Little People and Ashley Paul Bellamy met her again there, and she became like a mentor as well. And then I studied some more, viola and
Okay.
piano and voice. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So, okay. Now I know you teach. You are, let's see, voice pedagogy.
Right. Well, I don't teach for pedagogy. There's some specific classes for pedagogy,
Ah, okay.
but I teach at Berkeley. I teach private instruction, but
Okay.
I also teach some other classes. I teach vocal technique for non-voice principals, so people who play piano, guitar,
I remember that
drums.
class.
Right. So I
Yeah.
teach that. I teach a vocal improv class for mixed styles. So it's various genres, but they come in to learn about how to improv
Mhm.
for whatever songs they're singing. I also teach a pit band ensemble, which is like for theater. So musicians, and we work with another class with the actors and singers, and we collaborate.
That is cool.
And there's another ensemble, a theater. It's called New Works Development, Musical Theater New Works Development Ensemble. So we work with like if someone has written a new work and they haven't really workshopped it really, we can put it on the class,
Yeah.
workshop it, give it feedback, and make adjustments, and eventually like stage it or stage parts of it for the end of the semester. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So, oh, okay. Then, given your experience teaching voice,
Right.
is there any particular advice that you give singers
Mm-hmm.
and speakers? Because I know you've done voice acting as well, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So, is any advice you give speakers, singers,
Sure.
artists who use their voice that is particularly important when it comes to microphones and when they
Okay.
use the microphone?
I let's see. There's probably a few things, but one of them has to do with your placement, which is kind of placement is kind of a way of saying where it's most resonant in your body, in your
Okay.
mouth, because you can have your placement can be kind of throaty and there's a lot of tension here, and
Yeah.
you get very fatigued. But if it's more like in the mask of the face, there's less work happening here, so you won't get tired as easily. You probably shouldn't get tired actually, and it will feel more intimate, more direct, but also um, breath support. Sometimes we forget to breathe,
Uh,
and this is for actors and singers. And the breath is like the is what empowers the voice. That's what supports the sound. That's what sustains the sound. And
okay.
so if you're not breathing properly, your phrases will die off. And especially if you're going to record, sometimes that's going to be a problematic recording. And I'm sure we'll get to other things about what varying levels on your recording will could mean. So
Okay. All right. Um, okay. Well, you just touched on a question I was going to ask. The question was going to be if for voice actors, podcasters in particular, who don't have a singing background,
right.
how how would you define or describe or discuss the relationship between breath
Hmm.
and the quality of the sound that
Right.
is being
So
produced?
I mean, you could think of it like a car with gas. The breath
Ah,
is your breath is the gas.
okay.
So that's what kind of sustains that journey of whatever you are trying to accomplish vocally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for long term, I mean, you've been singing a long time.
Yes.
I won't call the number of years, but you've been
That's
singing a
that's all
long
right.
time. Um, how would you what would you recommend to singers, speakers, people who use a voice a lot for maintaining the voice, not damaging the voice,
Right.
not
Well,
the
I mean, there's a few things. Some of it is dietary hydration is very important. Drinking all the water, and not just when you're going to sing, but even days before. So you're hydrating the body to kind of sustain, because you use a lot of moisture when you speak and when you sing,
okay.
and so you want to hydrate the body, rest, maybe cut out certain things that will dry out your throat, like alcohol
Uh,
or smoking, vaping, that kind of stuff, which is kind of detrimental. Even careful of what you eat, because things like acid reflux can affect your voice as well. So eating like really spicy foods or really greasy foods that cause you to experience that acid reflux can affect your singing. I have a student now who's having some difficulty, and when she went to get scoped and get a consultation, and the doctor says you probably just have really bad acid reflux. That's what's causing the discomfort.
okay.
So they and I think it might have also caused her to have some small polyps as well, right? So it's those things are important. The again the breathing, and sometimes our natural tendency is to kind of talk like this with it's barely supported, and it's just
Guilty.
yeah, it's like vocal fry is what we call that, which can be useful, but a prolonged vocal fry like this is gonna make you very tired,
Uh,
and so you want to kind of be a bit above just talking like this and supporting that sound. Posture is important as well. So
Thank you.
yeah,
Well, okay. So you mentioned the techniques, so let's jump into that. The Okay, let's start with the basics.
okay,
Basics. Dynamic, condenser. We won't talk about the technical differences and how
right,
great, but as far as how they perform,
right,
how do you approach your selection in
right.
terms of how they respond, how they perform, how they react.
Well, how I think of dynamic mics versus condenser mics, I think of dynamic mics as kind of more hardy, more like workhorse kind of mics. They can take more wear and tear.
Yeah,
I think the condenser microphones are more sensitive, and depending on the polar patterns, which is how they pick up, how they receive the sound. That's something you have to decide on, depending on the situation that you're in. Dynamic mics, if I'm not wrong, if I remember correctly, it's more like cardioid and hypercardioid. So they kind of it's where you direct the mic is dynamic mic. Hey, so where you direct the mic, you kind of get this pickup pattern here, right,
right.
and not so much back here,
Okay,
right? So you're already eliminating some of the noise that you don't want. But with the condenser microphone, some of them have fixed patterns and some have variable patterns. And so one of the standard ones is the Omni thing, so it picks up all the way around.
right.
You might get some unwanted noise, and then it's also very sensitive. So it can get some unwanted noise from very far away because it'll pick things up very very easily. But what you could get is a variable pattern condenser mic that you can turn it into a cardioid or a hypercardioid, or if it's a interview thing, a figure eight where you're
Both
on
sides.
one side and the other person is on the other side, and that can work. I mean, I have it just for me. It just depends, and I mean, I know people don't like to hear that. It just depends on the situation. People want to say, "Oh, let's use this or use that." I use all of them. Like I've used this little recorder, which I can plug in mics in. So if I'm going outside somewhere, I'll bring four of these and this,
Okay.
and each person can just hold it, and it's a very controlled sound, and it gives me a lot of, it gives me a clean signal, clean
Yeah.
recording that I can easily mix, and I don't have to do a lot to get rid of unwanted noise and that kind of stuff. In my first podcast at Mike's Moment of, it was a lot of recording either like this with Zoom or in person with that same Zoom recorder with microphones. So and then I'd mix it in Logic. I'd go through and clean things up and edit. No, I don't know if I told you that I started as finally after 5 years a season two of Mike's Moment of, but I'm doing it video like what we're doing, but I'm using StreamYard. So,
Okay.
I kind of have to depend on who the guest is to have a good mic. But StreamYard allows you to save their video and their audio from their end, and you can download it and do the same mixing if you want. You can affect the stuff. So I've used a condenser. Let me try and lift it up and show you. It's kind of like AKG's modeling of their 414, their 414s, but
Yeah.
this is called a C44, and it's a USB mic, but it has variable polar patterns as well. So I can, like right now I have it as a cardioid thing picking me up, but I have this speaker listening to you right behind it, but I don't have
Ah,
it picking up that. But I also turn it down because you have to control the
yeah.
the sound. So yeah, did I answer did I answer the question?
Yeah. That's the question.
Yeah, I
Very
mean,
much
and
answers the question.
and even when I think when I was doing the audio thing in 2020 when the first version of it was only audio of the
Right.
podcast, I use a AT 2020 sometimes as my microphone here, and then whoever else it was just dependent on what they had. So I had to do the best with the internet connection and the
Right.
equipment that was on the other end. Yeah.
Okay. No, good. Actually, interesting you should mention the 2020. The reason why I asked the question is you will find there you go. There you go. The reason why I asked the question is that you will find, just now you said people don't like to hear this, but the answer is, well, it depends.
Right.
And the reason why I ask the question is quite often you'd hear on podcasts and courses, people recommend, well, if you're going to do a podcast, or if you're going to do voiceover work, then you have to use this kind of mic or that kind of mic.
Right.
So with your experience, I just wanted to get that feedback just to hear what you
Yeah, it's
gonna do.
it's if I- yeah, it's totally dependent, and again, the other thing you can have, like if you have guests, is like a lavalier,
Right.
thing. And now these are, you don't have to have them wired anymore. You can have them, Bluetooth
Right.
and connected to your phone or to your laptop, wherever. Um, so it just depends on what you can afford and the situation that you're
Mm.
in terms of what you have to control and what you have control over. Like right now, I'm in a space where it's very quiet, so I can use a condenser microphone
Right.
and that should be okay,
Okay. You mentioned the laugh just now.
Yeah.
Where do you, if you have the choice of placement, because
Hmm.
what someone's wearing
Right.
might determine that, but if you have the choice, where do you like to place
I like to put it like on a pocket. I really don't like it right here.
Okay.
I mean, I'd love to get more of a natural sound. Sometimes it's a little muffled up
Okay.
here. I've found, and also you want it somewhere where the clothes won't be rubbing against it or jewelry won't be rubbing against it all the time. Or you have to kind of see what the person is like, because if they're always touching their chest or whatever, you're gonna get plop plop plop,
Yeah.
in the recording. So sometimes if they're wearing a hat, you can clip it on the hat. I mean,
Yeah.
and so I guess you just have to be creative.
Sure. This is a bit of a departure, but I have learned to really appreciate lav mics over the past like 5 years or so.
Hmm.
I've used them obviously for voice.
Right.
I've used them live setting to capture if someone's playing acoustic guitar, place it just right.
Ah,
You
that's
can get
nice. Yes.
both. You can
Yes.
get both.
Yeah.
John Mark Wiggins. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah, I know John. Yeah,
He's
John Mike. Yeah.
big up in gospel now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He's
I've
excellent.
recorded him with just one live mic, him singing in the guitar, and it works so well. And
Nice. But
well,
again, it also depends on the quality of the mic,
right,
So
right,
because there's mics and there's mics, and some of
that's
them are really
right.
cheap and noisy, and
Yeah,
then you can have really, really good ones.
yeah,
Like DPA would be,
yeah.
that's a nice one.
Those
So
are nice.
yeah,
Those are
so
nice.
you can record anything with that.
Yeah, and I've also experimented with violin and having them placed.
Ah, yes, yes.
Flute mics. I've taped it onto the flute.
Oh, cool.
Remember Miss Gray, Katura Gray,
Yes, yeah,
great flautist, and we
yes.
did that several times with her, and it worked
Oh,
so well.
one.
But again, like you said, the mic you choose is also
Right.
important. We had a couple of good Shure mics.
Yeah.
You remember the mics
Oh,
we
yeah. Sure, sure,
yeah,
sure.
and they
Yeah,
were pretty good.
intimately. I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
Other things too, like drums, for example, drums. If you have a drummer that's moving around and you need a mic to follow them, I've placed lav mics,
Okay,
yeah, as well on the drums. It
nice.
worked so much better than I expected it to. It's a desperate experiment. I just needed
Yes,
all
yes,
of the
as
all
you
of
do,
the
because we know the situation. Sometimes it's like, all right, turn your hand, make fashion, as we say.
Yep.
You have to come up with the solutions last minute, and
Sure.
that's good.
Okay. I'm going to ask an unfair question then,
Okay.
as a follow-up. You mentioned the 2020, and I'd written this down. So if someone's just starting out, just starting out, let's say they have a budget of you've got a student, he's got a budget of $200 US,
Right.
and is looking at the Shure, MV7 or SM, well, not SM7, that's
Because
over
that's
200. Looking
yeah.
at the Shure MV7 and, like I said, the Audio Technica 2020,
Hmm.
two different mics that are often used for broadcast.
Right.
Um, you've touched on a bit of this before, but just for clarity, which environments, voice types, considerations would you use or would you express to them they need to consider if they're choosing between that, the popular dynamic mic and that other popular condenser
And
mic
that's why.
or home record
Um, I
podcast?
I think I would. I mean, I probably would go with the condenser, because the SM is probably just like the cheaper version of the other
Mhm.
SM7 that you're mentioning.
Yeah.
But it's Shure, and Shure is a very good brand.
It's a good, yeah, good
And
quality. Yeah,
good quality. And I don't think they could go wrong with that, because, as I said, it's sturdier.
right.
It can take a beating, and I think it probably would manage the response of whatever level they're at, even vocally. I think
Okay.
it could manage that better. I mean, I think the AT 2020 would pick up all of the dips and valleys and the peaks and the stuff of a variable vocal performance, whether spoken or sung,
Okay.
and you'd have to do more post production work with that, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree, but I think yeah,
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying.
yeah,
It's. I agree. I
yeah.
agree. I agree. And like you said, it
It
depends.
depends. Yeah.
It depends.
And so many factors. It just depends on how well you can your vocal performance
Right.
you can manage it, and the situation in which you're recording your things.
Yeah.
Even stuff like your mic pre's and stuff. It depends on all those
Mhm.
things. So
Yeah. Especially with the well, with the dynamic mic.
yeah,
Great. One I mentioned, great sound quality,
yeah,
but it is a dynamic mic, and
right,
what it puts out is soft,
yeah,
is
exactly.
relatively weak.
Hmm.
So if the person's naturally soft spoken, if they're a little mic shy and they're soft spoken
Yeah,
as
you're gonna
well.
have to do a lot of post production
Right,
stuff.
right, right.
Yeah.
And then the other consideration you mentioned it just now. Like right now, I'm not in my studio. I'm in my study
Okay.
because the lighting's great and it works good for this
Yeah.
podcast.
Really nice lighting. Yeah.
But my neighbor's puppy next door, you might
I'm
hear it
not hearing it.
occasionally.
That's good. Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
so it really depends. If I'm in my studio, condenser, as you
Yeah.
mentioned, I'd use a condenser.
Right.
It's conditioned and it's blocked off sound wise acoustically.
Hmm.
But here in the study with my neighbor's puppy,
Yeah.
I'd probably choose a dynamic,
Right.
just
Exactly.
so dynamic with a cardioid pattern,
Yeah.
just so that I don't get I love the puppy,
Exactly.
but I don't want
Yeah,
to
but you
gas.
don't want him on the interview.
Um,
Absolutely.
we talked about mic shy, proximity effect.
Right.
Well, first, can you tell the folks what is proximity effect?
So the proximity effect, I mean, at this most basic is that the closer the mic is you get a boost on the lower frequencies,
Okay,
which you can use and it can be useful, like for singing with the mic technique, especially if it's just at the lowest part of your range and you don't have a lot of projection with it, you can just lean in a little bit and you get a little help from the microphone. Because I mean, I think this microphone is a tool of the singer as well. It
Mhm.
needs to become a part of if you use it, if that's the kind of music you're doing.
Right,
If you're doing classical things, it's less likely because you're probably gonna either have no mic or a mic that's like stood in front of you or clipped somewhere that you don't have any control over
right,
proximity effect. But if you're singing some kind of popular style or jazz or something like that, then you're going to be using this mic, and you kind of have to let this thing become a part of you and kind of know where it is. You remember in the performance labs where we used to go around
yes,
and they used to have them even just use their thumb for the beginning to have a
right,
little space so it's consistent. And so they're always following the microphone where they go. Because sometimes we like to do this, and you're like, well, if you do this, then we're here. You're not gonna hear because
yeah.
this is where the sound. This is what's
You get
gonna
you
be
get the
coming.
lightsaber effect.
Exactly. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right. And then once you kind of get used to it, then you can eliminate this thumb thing, so it doesn't look like you're a robot, and
Yeah.
and then you do this. Same thing with when I was coaching the rising stars. I used to have them do stuff like this,
Right.
and then if you are kind of bass heavy, you're gonna want to keep
Uh,
it away a little bit. But if you do need that help with the proximity effect, that's what you use it for. You bring it in a little bit. So that's this. All these are things that we use this term mag technique, and that's part
right.
of it. So
So now, as you mentioned that though, what people normally refer to as working the mic,
yeah,
um, and I know this doesn't come up as much with podcasts, but it might with home recording. Like if you're
right.
recording singing,
Well,
what is when they talk about working the mic? What is it, and when do you move that mic back and forth?
hmm hmm
That's the question.
so I mean, it's. I guess it's you. If you know the idiosyncrasies of your own vocal performance, then
Mhm.
you'd know when you need more and when you need less. But also, if you're using a condenser microphone, you know, it's an issue with this too, but it's even more so with the condenser microphone, which is like the plosives and stuff in what you're saying. So you can use a pop filter, but you can also start training yourself when you're with your diction to not overdo the p and the k and the does. You kind of soften them a little bit. So you can even rely less on the pop filter, but it's something that you start to train yourself to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as you mentioned, the plosives, and you mentioned using a pop filter versus not a pop filter. I have seen you in performance
Right.
use what techies call like off-axis
Right.
placement. Do you do that? Well, first, can you explain to them what that is, and then two,
So, no,
do you
sure.
do it? Do you do it? Is it to control plosives, or is it there another reason why you do it? Because I've seen you do it, and it sounds great when you
I'm
sing it.
trying to remember
You're a great
when I did
singer.
it. Well, for me,
Uh,
um, so usually we're singing directly into the diaphragm, right?
right,
So sometimes we're doing like this and we realize you can't really hear it. A lot of people who aren't comfortable with microphones will do this and start dropping the microphone and be
right,
like, we can't hear you, right? So this is a nice way to be consistent with it. But sometimes if you're in a part of your range where the volume level is a certain thing that you can't really control to a great degree.
right.
Sometimes you'll do this and maybe take it off a little bit so you can kind of help control the volume that's headed to the diaphragm, the power that's headed to the diaphragm.
Okay.
And sometimes it is for the plosive stuff as well. Depends, and especially if it's in a very vulnerable moment in the song or whatever, you don't want to have all this noise, so you kind of
Yeah,
adjust it. So I mean, but that comes from spending a lot of time with the mic too, and in a place where you can hear and see how the mic responds to what you do. And so it becomes a natural part of, okay, I know what's coming and I know how this mic responds to me.
mhm.
So I'm going to do this and do. So you have to spend some time kind of getting comfortable with the mic. I know you've seen me with this the TC Helicon voice processor thing that I use,
Yes, yeah,
and so I spend a lot of time even with that, because even with stuff like hard tuning or auto tune that's in the moment,
yeah,
because you're doing that with for an effect, but there's certain things you have to do with your voice to get the effect that you want. If you're singing directly in tune, you don't really hear the effect of the auto tune because it doesn't chip in,
right.
right? So you have to kind of know, okay, I need to sing a little bit off tune here, auto tune, so the effect chips in, you know. So yeah, it takes spending time with your instrument, because your instrument is a voice, but these are extensions of your instrument, and you have to spend time with them as well.
All right, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I think, yeah, I'd like to see, especially students,
Yeah,
spend more time really getting used to not just their voice, which they're doing, and they're usually great with
right,
that, but when they use the mic, how the mic affects the way their voice sounds,
right, yeah,
and how they can and how what they do with their voice
right,
affects how it comes through
yeah.
once it's captured.
Especially at those times too, when you have stuff like effects on the mic, you have
Right.
delay and reverb. You want to kind of get a sense of how what you do affects the response of that outboard processing, and is it an effect that you want? Do when you go pa and it has that those echoes and the things. Is that what you want? That kind of thing. So you can even ask for adjustments or go, okay, this is how it responds to me, and so I have to do this instead of this or this. You know,
Yeah. All right. Well, you mentioned the effects. All right. Um, let's talk. I mean, we're almost at the end of our time.
okay,
At some point we're gonna have to come back and talk more about post production.
sure.
But very, very quickly, since we're talking about podcasts, since we're talking about singing, compression,
Hmm.
very, very, very commonly used effect.
Right,
Can you just touch on the effects of compression?
right,
Well, what it is briefly, and the
sure.
effects of it. Yeah.
So compression is, as it says, it kind of squashes the sound. It brings up the loudest thing softer, and then brings up the level of overall thing. So if there's noise in your signal, it's also going to bring up the noise floor.
Ah,
So you have to be careful of how much compression you use. Compression is not something to be used to fix a really bad signal, because um you know that saying, you can't polish a turd, you can't yeah, so I mean, you just get more of the poop
yeah.
on you. So that's what you do if you have a bad signal to begin with, and then you say, okay, let me compress it now because I can't hear anything. You're gonna get all the rubbish that was there, that was really soft. So you want to have as clean a signal as possible. And I would use the gentlest ratio, just enough to, because you want it to feel natural. You don't want it to sound like it's a loudspeaker but turned down loud, turned down low, and so everything is kind of in your face. Dynamic range is important and it's natural. Yeah, so
Right.
you want to preserve some of that dynamic range, because the way we speak and the way we sing, the dynamic range is what helps with emotion and the storytelling, and you don't want
Right.
to eliminate all of that. So 2-1, 4-1, kind of maybe experiment around with that, but I think it should be very gentle. The only time you're gonna get more extreme is if you're trying for extreme effects, or if you really are trying to polish a turd, and not advised. So
All right. Well, we are sadly at the end. We have to come back. We have to do this again and talk about post-production and effects and
yeah, sure.
all of that nice techie post-production stuff.
Yeah.
Just to tell the folks, this book here, a lot of the what we discussed today,
Ah,
Understanding
perfect. Yeah.
Microphones, is in this book. So feel
Yes.
free to pick it up.
Yeah.
But I know you have a book and you have programs. So how can folks see your stuff and what you're doing? And
So, maybe the easiest way, well, there's Reggae Online, which has all these courses, and
okay,
hopefully you're going to have a course on there soon with this book. But so reggae-on-line.com. And also, I have a lot of those links on a Linktree. So it's Linktree/Reggae Online, like one word, Reggae Online.
okay,
And yeah, all the things should come up there at in some way, or other.
all right. But what we'll do is I'll get those from you and I'll put them
Perfect.
to and thank you, Mike.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
thank you so much. I really
You're welcome.
appreciate this. It's good to be. We haven't spoken for a long time like this
Yeah.
in a while, so that's been fun as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
Absolutely.
you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, looking forward to the next time.
All right.
Yeah,
Take care, brother.
cool. Man.